Good morning, good afternoon, good evening all over the world. Dobson 777A here. All right, it's 8:43 p.m. Eastern Standard Time when I'm recording this part of it, and we currently have gold is up 0.5%, silver's up 1.8%, platinum's up 0.65. Now, when I look at the chart, you can see we're on this continuous upward trend here still on gold. It looks like it's trying to continue up here. Let's see what silver looks like. Yeah, silver's made a little bit bigger jump here, so silver is now pushing up towards it's like right below 28 bucks now, so 27.99. Let's go back to gold. Gold is at 1974, and the ratio is at 70.52. All right, let's focus on gold. Very interesting articles. This one I wanted to fit in yesterday, but didn't have enough time. So here's one. Why Warren Buffett bailed on banks and bought gold in one simple chart. He actually bought Barrett gold. But anyways, he has this Buffett indicator where he's trying to determine when things are, stocks are overvalued. And you can see that, you know, this thing has shot way up. And I think he's recognizing that this is not real. And this is a chance to consider kind of hedging a bit. So I think that's what he's doing. Following up with this, $16 billion Ohio Police and Fire Pension Fund approves 5% allocation for gold. So look, you start getting these kind of things happening. So look, if I did the math right, that's $800 million they're allocating towards gold here. This is a massive amount of money that's going into gold. And think about it, there's only like $1 trillion in investable gold. If all these clowns get in here and start trying to buy into this, this is going to go nuts. This is happening, folks. I hope you're seeing this, that this is the beginning of everything going nuts. You're going to see people realizing they can't get to gold. They're going to recognize that miners are the next thing. So we've got a little bit of everything. Don't put all your stuff into one basket. And that's what I'm trying to help you understand. But physical gold, silver, platinum, and then miners with some allocation of those things as well. Again, I still kind of recommend 80% gold. Actually, in my case, I'm doing 70% gold, 10% platinum, and 20% silver. So there was another article from Crescat Capital where they're talking about the new bull market for precious metals. And it has to do with, again, the central banks are stuck. They're absolutely stuck. And we need to make sure that we have got our lines in the water, folks. Been saying this for a while now. Got to get your lines in the water. Don't be screwing around, because this is going to turn. It's going to turn quickly, just like we saw last year. It started at the end of May, and this year kind of the same thing's happening again. And this is the numbers are just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's going to be something that, I mean, I heard people saying, you know, first gold's going to be moving like, you know, $10 a day, then 50, then 100. When we start seeing $100 a day moves consistently, you're just too late. You can't get it anymore. And then just watch what the miners do when that kind of thing happens. I can't tell you any more than that. I've been begging you for a long time to get this stuff. You know, 2018 is when I got mine. I was begging you early in 2019 to get it, and it's probably still not too late. I just hate chasing returns. That's one of the things you don't do if you're a mature investor. So this is a good article. It's got a couple charts. Let's hit these charts. U.S. government deficit or surplus, GDP to GDP. So you can see negative 15. And this is all the way back to the breaking of the gold standard. And you can see we're falling off a cliff right now. S&P 500 real earnings yield, falling like a rock. Total U.S. Treasury bills outstanding. Total U.S. Treasury bills outstanding. So what's the U.S. Treasury bills outstanding year-over-year change? Sorry, man. This is a complicated chart. It's two different things going on. U.S. Treasury bills outstanding in billions of U.S. dollars. Unfortunately, they didn't label which one is on which side here, so this doesn't help me. I can't tell if this is on the whites on this side and the reds on this side or what. So, horrible chart. There should have been a legend here. Who did this chart? U.S. 10-year real yield. All right, look at this, man. 0.01. Oh, man, I forgot to do the article. There's an article I found that talked about some of these savings accounts and everything you have at the bank. The banks are removing fees because these fees are pushing these accounts negative. If anything happens, your account is going to start going down because there's such, and this shows you 0.01. There's no yield on anything, and so a lot of these accounts are going to start moving backwards, and that's all of a sudden people are going to go, what happened? That's what they're going to say. They're going to say, what happened? When it happens, they're going to be like, what do? I don't want to be losing money on my cash. They don't realize that inflation's doing that already, but when they actually see the account balances changing, that is going to be a problem. That's going to wake them up big time. Silver miners versus NASDAQ. Oh, this is kind of an interesting chart. All right, so this has been a kind of a downward trend, but all of a sudden we may have a breakout here, folks. And everybody knows that mining industry has been capital destroyers, but now that you see the metal prices going up, the value of these miners and everything are doing much better. Gold and silver miners, 12-month net equity issuance. Yeah, so they're not spending a lot of money on the miners right now, so we don't have a lot of acquisitions yet, mergers and acquisitions. So we'll have to see if, how much money they're going to be input. Now, part of it is this year's been the COVID, and everybody's just trying to figure out where we're going. So I can understand why there hadn't been a lot of investing this year, but you can see that it peaked up in probably 2016 when we had the last run up, and it's been running down. So this hardly any expenditures right now. Gold versus miners capex. See, they actually put a legend this time. You're going to have to see this turn around. The way gold's going up, I think everybody's realizing, okay, maybe it's really going to do something here. And so you'll start seeing expenditures moving up on this as well. So Russell 3000 and top 50 precious metal miners versus market cap. All right, so you can see the REITs are pretty high total debt, but the miners have very low debt. So this is really kind of an interesting chart. Look at this. You can see consumers are all maxed out. Utilities have large debt because of the plants and everything they got to do. The lowest debt next to gold and silver miners is healthcare. Gold and silver miners versus global stocks. Interesting. Total market cap. Precious metals industry, 610 billion. Apple, 2.15 trillion. It's a big difference. And this is all the miners, the whole industry. Silver to money supply ratio, gold prices year to year. I'm not going to hit all of these, but there's some. I like charts. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed that. I'm going to go ahead and slam the video at the back of this that talks about eggplant parmesan. I want you to see the recipe that I did. Hope you enjoy it. Okay, I've made this recipe several times, and in this recipe I show a different breading, but I highly recommend you get this breading or something very similar to it. This is very similar to panko breading, but it's actually seasoned Italian style, and this worked out much better than the one I show in this recipe. So I just want to give you a heads up. Pick this or something very similar to it. I'm going to make some eggplant parmesan, and I've got some monster eggplant. In fact, I had like over 7 or 8 gallons of eggplant here. I've already cut up one, and I've laid it out on this, I call it like a drip tray, but you cut it, and then you salt to one side, flip it over, and salt the other side. So now I'm about ready to do another eggplant. These are my 2 largest ones. The rest of them aren't quite that large. And I'm going to just keep doing this. I'm going to keep salting and stacking. Now you can actually put a paper towel between the 2. I may do that this time, the 2 layers. But all you're going to do is after it is salted for an hour, this is called sweating. What it does is it kind of tames the eggplant, but you're also trying to dry it out some because you want this to be closer to like a meat dish. So we're going to simply do the sweating process for 1 hour. And then what you do is you rinse it off. You layer it with paper towels to kind of, get that excess water off that you just, tried to remove, but you added some just to sweat it and remove the salt. And then what you do is you dip it in an egg wash, and then you dip it into panko bread crumbs. And I use gluten-free. And I'll show all this in a little bit, but I'm just going to walk through the whole process for you. But after you do the breading, you do a single layer on a baking sheet with parchment paper, and you stick it in the oven for 350. And it depends how thick you cut these. I'm trying to do about a 1/2 inch thick, but there's some variation because it's not a regular meat cutter. I'm just using a regular knife here. And you're probably about 15 minutes at 350, and then you flip it over, and it doesn't take quite as long the second time, but you're basically, again, trying to just dry it out just a little bit more, get a little toastiness on the breadcrumbs and that kind of thing. And then we're just going to alternately stack these with some cheese, which is Parmesan and Romano, and then also there's a special sauce that you get. I love this vodka sauce. This is unbelievable. It's kind of expensive, but I do kind of like a little bit of a dry stack, and I'll show you why, because then that allows me to store this effectively. And then when I warm it up, I just take one of those bottles and I pour a little bit on the top, and that gives me the finished product for later. But it actually freezes well. It's a very good recipe. I mean, you're basically moving towards the vegetarian side, and I'm trying to take advantage of what my garden does. So I just wanted to give you that overview, and we'll go step by step now. All right, so I've actually cut up 2 very large eggplants, and this is a really good amount of eggplant right here. That's going to be a 3 stack. And when I stack it, I'm going to put like the bigger pieces on the bottom and build like a little bit of a pyramid. So right now they're not in any kind of order, but I've salted both sides, and they're just going to sit for an hour. In fact, I'm going to set the timer now. And I've got a few eggs in here. I don't think I have enough eggs. I'm going to have to go get some more. But geez, that was just 2 eggplants, and that's going to be a big container. Let me show you. That will fill this container here. You can see. And I don't even know what size this thing is. This is a big old pan. But this is the one I normally do my eggplant parmesan in. So I've got to do multiple recipes here. I can tell this is going to take a lot of these pans to use up all the eggplant that I've got right there. All right, so I finished the sweating of the eggplant where I had salted it and let it sit for an hour. So I just rinsed them off and I layered it with paper towels. Now what I had to set up 2 trays with parchment paper. So I've got 2 baking pans here. And what I'm going to do now is put egg in this one that I'm going to add a little bit of water, and I'm going to whisk it up. And this is called, we're going to dredge the eggplant through the egg wash. And then over here, I'm going to have these breadcrumbs that are specific kind of breadcrumbs. And I use seasoned. I think with eggplant, it really helps to kind of tone it down with some other things. And so I've always used the seasoned. And if you don't need gluten-free, you get what they call panko. I'm not a cook, so I should have researched what the heck panko is, but it's a particular type of breadcrumb. So this is what I'm using. There are several different brands that have this seasoned, and I did an Italian style the first couple times when I did this, and that came out really good. So I'm not exactly sure, how this is going to be, but just about everything works. I'm end up also going to use some garlic salt on a couple of the layers as well, and that adds a little more flavor. And then you also use basil, just a little bit of basil. I sprinkle that in between the layers as well, just to add a little flavor. So that's kind of all the ingredients, if I haven't forgotten anything besides the different cheeses, and we'll get to that later. All right, so what I've done is I laid out my first layer of eggplant parmesan pieces, and I put some some garlic salt, and then I also put some basil. Oops, not showing it. Garlic, salt, basil. Just sprinkled it on each one of these pieces. Then I came back and put mozzarella cheese, just a little bit. And then I came back and put the Parmesan cheese. And you try to keep this somewhat flat because we're going to be going multiple layers. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some of this homemade sauce here. Yeah, I'm going to pour it on there. Again, we're not trying to drench it. I'm actually just trying to layer this because this makes it easier for warming up. And then when I go to dish it up, we pour more on the plate that we have so that it's drenched at that time. But this makes it easier for storing and everything. So this is the way I make it. I put a little dollop on top of each one of them, and I found it's easier just to take like a spatula and kind of flatten it out so that we can put the next ones on. We don't want this, and I apologize because I'm trying to hold the camera and do the work at the same time. Just kind of flatten it out a little bit. I may have to add a little bit more sauce, it looks like. All right, there we go. All right, that's kind of what it looks like. And then we go ahead and do our next layer. Anyways, you just keep layering it like this. So now we're going to do a little bit of the seasoning, some more mozzarella and Parmesan, and some more sauce. And then we should get one more layer on top of this, and then we're done. This actually will be a very heavy tray when this is done. This eggplant is very dense. And I will tell you, when there's leftover pieces, I just eat it just like this. This is fantastic. I will tell you, this seasoning that I used here wasn't quite as good as the Italian seasoning that I had gotten from Kroger that was gluten-free. So I just want to let you know, I just took advantage of what I had, and it'll still be fine because you load it up with all this cheese and everything else. But as far as eating it by itself, the Italian seasoning was superior. So here's the second layer completed. So I've got the mozzarella, Parmesan, little garlic salt, little basil, and then the sauce on there. So now I'm going to put my last layer of eggplant on top and go through the whole exercise one more time with all the cheese and everything else, and then it's going to go in the oven and just bake for probably 20 minutes or so until all the cheese is melted. But everything's cooked now. It's already done. And so it's just a matter of melting the cheese and get it cooked through and through, and this recipe is done. There's 3 stacks of my eggplant Parmesan. I forgot to get a video while it was sitting out here, but I just stuck it in a few minutes ago. So this has got about half an hour, 45 minutes, and then this will be done. All right, it is done. That is the finished product. This I kind of waited until everything was kind of bubbling in the oven, and that looks great. So I'm going to go ahead and throw some on a plate and chow down. This is an unbelievably, it's actually simple meal, but it just takes a lot of preparation. But you end up with, I mean, each one of these stacks, they look like stacks of pancakes, is a meal. So you can see I've made 12 meals right there. All right, remember, use this breading, not the other breading I showed. This is great stuff here. I hope everybody's treating you well. I hope you're doing well. Do the best you can. God bless.